That music is so much fun. I might forget to talk. I'm Kelly Mitchell, and this is Women on Wine TV. We're showing you how to live your best life, celebrating wine and life. And joining me today is my partner and every day is my partner in wine, Deborah Trapin. Welcome to the show, Deborah.
Hello, darling. I love that music. I feel like my feet are just going to be tapping the whole episode now.
It
Woo!
just makes me get my groove on. It's a little girl from Ipanema-ish, isn't it? Woo! I think it makes everybody feel sexy. So tonight we've got Merlot, Life After Sideways. There are many movies that have impacted the wine industry, like Somm, Bottle Shock. There's a new one just hitting the festivals called Somm Into the Bottle. And you know how we love to play in the bottle. But none that made the impacts in the wine industry that Sideways did. So I have just a teeny bit, Deb, just a teeny bit of fodder. Now, Sideways was directed by Alexander Payne.
Okay.
Inside scope. I auditioned for him for the Descendants. So it's kind of cool to see Sideways again after having auditioned and, see it in a new light. Because I think that was really where he got his start, right?
Oh, I believe so. I
I
mean, I'm
believe
I'm not
so.
an aficionado in that space.
Oh, yeah. So he actually wrote and directed Sideways, which was amazing. So, okay, so we begin with a quote, and this is a rather long one from Maya in the movie. If you haven't seen this movie, guys, you're going to hear us talk about it because we love this movie, and it is just fun and wild and crazy and more fun. I like to think about the life of wine, how it's a living thing. I like to think about what's going on the year the grapes were growing, how the sun was shining, if it rained. I like to think about all the people who tended and picked the grapes. And if it's an old wine, how many of them must be dead by now? That's kind of, I like how wine continues to evolve. Like, if I open a bottle of wine today, would it taste different than if I had opened it on any other day? Because a bottle of wine is actually alive and it's constantly evolving and gaining complexity. That is until it peaks, like you're 61, and then it begins its steady, inevitable decline. And it tastes so good. Insert F word.
Yes.
That, what do you think about that quote, Deb?
That was my favorite scene. That's when they were standing in the kitchen at Stephanie's house, right? And they were
Yes.
opening the bottle, and she was. I mean, I think I've probably played that line in the movie at least 10 or 12 times, just because it's just one of those where you're like, yes, so good. It's so true. I'm right there with you, sister.
Totally. I absolutely love about talking about how it's alive and like imagining the process and what it was like, what that year was like, for the grapes, for the vines, and gosh, just so poignant. So we're on Merlots. Woohoo!
Woo-hoo.
And I have to ask you, dear friend, what is in your glass today?
So before I tell you what's in my glasses, our word of the show, Merlot, so that I can get you to start drinking.
Or sideways, which would you prefer?
I prefer
You can
Merlot because I think you'll drink more.
Oh no, it's Merlot. Cheers to you. And so you want to tell them the rule about the word?
Yes. So when you hear us say the word of the show, which is today is Merlot, you take a sip of whatever's in your glass, preferably Merlot today, since that's what we're talking about, but whatever you have handy is fine with us. So the Merlot that I chose today is Janek, and I am so excited to show this to you because Janek just launched a brand new label this year. Can you see that?
I can.
Isn't it beautiful? It's so classy looking. I love it. So Janek, this is their 2013, their newest release of Merlot. It's mostly from the Clipson Vineyard up here in Washington. And the interesting thing about the 2013 Merlot vintage in the state of Washington is it was the hottest, or I should say warmest. Hot isn't really a word we use here in Washington. It was the warmest year in 10 years for the Merlot grape. So it's very exciting, kind of what they're talking about, that it's going to last, it's going to age really well over the next 10 years. And I'll tell you, this has lovely black cherry and a lot of like dark fruits and some chocolate, but it is really young. So it was delicious. We had it a couple of nights ago with some red meat, and it was delicious, but it is young. So I can definitely see, trying the next bottle in 5 years and the next bottle in 10, if we can hold on to it that long. Oh my gosh.
It's so hard.
Oh, it's crazy. But for other kind of pairings, I would definitely do it with like a roasted lamb chop, good rosemary and good spices in there. There's a good pin on our pin board about that. And then, or go something super classy, like super classic, I should say, like Julia Child's Boeuf Bourguignon, like perfect for this, just a nice, thick, delicious stewed meat would be amazing with this Merlot.
It sounds beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And
only other
anything
thing I
else?
have is, only other thing I have is if you follow them on Twitter, actually they're really great with social interaction. So NH Winery, NH Winery. It's Novelty Hill, no, NHJ Winery. Sorry about that, because it's two wineries that share the same house. So Novelty Hill, Janek, NHJ Winery. Delicious wine and great interaction on social media. So give them a tap.
Love it.
What's in your glass? Merlot.
Today, what? Oh, did you say Merlot?
I did. I said, what Merlot is in your glass? Now I said it again.
In my glass today, darling, I've got a fabulous Parcel 41. Can you see this?
Oh, I love it. Is it like an old stamp or something? What is that?
It looks a little bit like a stamp. This is a 2012 Napa Valley, my future home, Napa Valley Merlot. It is fabulous. And actually this stamp, as you're calling it, it's the original agriculture land assessor's plot number for their ranch in Napa. How cool is that? So it's like, you get so many things, I think, as a farmer that kind of delineate or add to the possibility of your brand, and for them to latch on to the land and the plot number for the ranch. I thought that was uber cool. The thing I love about this wine is that you've got cocoa on the nose, some cherry, a little oak, and then the finish is rich berries. I want to say blackberries, and I love to say black cherries, but I'm not going to say that. I'm just going to say rich berries and vanilla finishes, because I could not pull out specifically which one it was. But it's absolutely delicious. Really light on tannins, and so smooth. And the color is absolutely divine. It looks like a very, very rich wine, and it tastes like that too. What I paired this with was a scallion and brie stuffed burgers. And these are gourmet burgers. These are not things that you want to, like make 12 pounds of, but they're, the smaller burgers, like a tasting burger almost, or maybe just in between that big football burger and the little teeny tiny sliders, right? Only takes 30 minutes to prepare and enjoy. And that link will be, is on Pinterest, and it will also be on our blog.
Awesome.
So you can link right there.
Okay, yeah, so are you gonna give us some history about Merlot?
I have so much information on Merlot, and I actually had to cut myself off because I had too much. But Merlot is actually a Bordeaux grape, also known as Little Blackbird, which I thought was cool. It's interesting. In 1956 in France, they had the Merlot vine devastation. And so this deep freeze hits France, wipes out everything. And not only were most of the Merlot grapes destroyed, but also the Malbecs in France. And this was like hideous. I mean, you can just imagine the farmers out there crying among their vines. So they replanted the Merlot vines, and then a vicious round of rot took place. And the government, like, so many of the vintages in the 60s were completely lost for French Merlot. It was absolutely a difficult decade. Many of them from all of 1960s. So the French winemakers, what are they doing? They're still planting their Merlot grapes, right? The French government finally goes, okay, you guys are like not with it. There's not all of your marbles are going on up there. We're going to make sure that you never plant another Merlot ever again. So they banned it in 1970. No more new plantings of Merlot vines.
That's insanity.
Isn't that insanity? So I don't know, like I didn't have enough time to go back and say like, where are we now?
Well,
So I
I
have no
do
idea.
know that it is the most planted grape variety today in France.
Oh,
So I don't.
today. So I wonder when they unbanned it.
Yeah, I did not see an unbanned date, but I do know that they have recovered to the point where it nobody wants to give a percentage, right? Because nobody wants to be called to the carpet and say, no, it's actually 62%. But I did see for sure that it was still the most planted. And it's also the fifth most planted grape in Italy, which actually really surprised me. And I guess I just never thought about Merlot as Italian. It just sounds French.
It sounds
So,
totally French. There's no
yeah,
T. You don't hear the T. It's Merlot, darling.
I know. I know you think they would have called it something different, like uh, just added a little E at the end or an O or something to make it sound bellissimo.
Any.
Merlot. Merlot.
I love it. I
Oh,
absolutely
that's
love it.
funny.
I thought it was so funny because, okay, so we have these four characters right in Sideways, and Merlot gets such a bad rap in that movie. I mean, it's like almost unconscionable. And what I thought was amazing about Sideways' effect on the wine industry was that literally people watched Miles diss Merlot to the point, like he said, I'm not drinking any effing Merlot. I don't even know how many times. If it's effing Merlot, I'm out of here. I mean, over and over and over again. And the impact that had on the market was Merlot drinking in the US actually declined, but Pinot Noir drinking increased like 16%
Yeah.
after that movie was shown. And that's from the state of California, probably Davis, but the wine people in the state of California educational college system. I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I was reading. So obviously we've both seen the movie so many times, and I remember so the first time I watched it, I was like, okay, it's kind of a yawn story about this two dudes who have these bizarre relationships with women, right? I mean,
Midlife crises
Miles,
as well.
right? I mean, Miles is kind of like this frumpy wet napkin of a dude who's a total wine snob. And I mean, he was so in love with Pinot. Like, it was like, okay, dude, marry it already. I mean, it was like everywhere you go. And like, oh, I smell this and I smell that. And I mean, he's kind of like the person we were talking about in our, Down with the Wine Snobs episode that we did
Oh yeah.
earlier this year, the crushing wine snobbery. And then you've got this crazy, Jack, who he clearly loves Merlot. He clearly loves any wine. He just wants to drink wine. He just wants to drink it. He doesn't want to sniff it. And that one line that Miles gets, one time he talks negatively about Merlot. And it was like, the world was like, oh my God, they're dissing Merlot. It was like, he said it once. Like, who knows what it was in the original script, but that was just the best scene. Like him just throwing a freaking tantrum, and Jack's like, you will drink. If someone's drinking Merlot, you will. And it's like, I think, what do we do like that? What would we say? I guess maybe if anyone's drinking Southern Comfort in there, I'm leaving. Like,
as far as wine, I mean, I don't know. My eyes have been open to so many different types of wine now that I don't think that there would be anything that I would diss, maybe except for like a Boone's Farm brand, maybe, or something that's like just rot gut stuff. But
right.
it's like you can spend $10 and get a decent bottle of wine these
Yeah,
days if
for
you
sure.
if you know how to find it. So I thought the most dismal moment of the entire movie, the most depressing to me, is watching the tragic downing by Miles of his 1961 Chateau Cheval Blanc in a styrofoam cup while he's eating a burger in a brightly lit Walgreens style environment.
Yeah, that was pretty tragic. But what I did love about that is, of course, you know me. I took out, like, you don't have to wait for a special day. Like, you can, like, the special day is the day you open it. There doesn't have to be another reason. And I think that he was just at such a low, right? I mean, again, the book was not picked up. Again, he loses the girl. Again, that he was just like, and I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was actually inspired by something that Maya had said to him, right? Like, why haven't you sipped this delicious nectar yet? And he goes, oh, I'm waiting for that special day. And she's like, what the heck? Like, drink it. It could be tasty.
It wasn't really a special day, but it was, I mean, I think it was a pivotal moment. It was just depressing to see him put it in a styrofoam cup, because we know that glass influences the final taste on the palate, right? And the nose.
Totally. It would have been so rad if he would have had a really long glass straw that he was just sipping it from. Like, that would have been awesome. But the fact that he was like hiding it to the side, so sad.
I know, it was sad.
Weird characters that you just eventually like connect with and fall in love with. I thought the character development was great. I did read something that said, Pinot sales, they can't really directly relate things, right? Because it's a movie, and it's not like people are walking in saying the reason I bought this was because of Sideways. But I think Merlot still beats out Merlot by like 9% in sales each year now, still, which is really interesting, because you and I both know that, like, I think you can buy more affordable Merlot that's good than you can buy affordable Pinot that's delicious.
Totally agree. And I think you definitely, the industry, I think, can feel when you have like a 20% increase and a 10% decrease. They can feel that. Mm-hmm. The only thing that they could correlate that with at the time was the movie, how much that actually had influence. It's hard to tell, as you were saying, but it obviously had some impact. And I don't play a lot in the Merlot space. I enjoy Merlot, so I'm not like a Merlot snob, but I usually play in the Pinot space or the Cab space a lot more. And so, this movie that is anti-Merlot actually did the opposite for me. It really made me try a few more Merlots and have, like with this Parcel 41, incredible experience. And the price point is pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I love that. I think that I really think you are the norm. I don't think you're the exception. I think that it was just sensationalized, because again, he only talks negatively about Merlot in that one quote, for crying out loud, but he talks up Pinot. So I think they just glommed onto, absolutely, he's not going to drink that. And ooh, look, he's so in love with Pinot. Like, let's get attached to that. And I think that people who really love wine are like, well, what's wrong with Merlot? And they may have actually opened their eyes to it. I tend to like Merlot more with a burger or a steak, even than I enjoy a good cab with it. I don't know what it is. It could be maybe, maybe for me, the Washington Merlots are a little bit easier on the tannins for me. I guess I need to start paying a little bit more attention to the Merlot in my glass.
Good Lord, I'm going to be drunk by the end of the show.
I'm watching over there.
Merlot. I think
I sent this to you. I need to look here. Chateau Petrus. Did you see that? Do you see that quote there? That note that I sent you? A one bottle, believe it or not, one bottle, the most famous right bank Bordeaux called Chateau Petrus, is mostly Merlot, and one bottle, $1,870.
And what year is it?
It doesn't say here. I think it's actually like, it's not just one vintage. It's like, that's how much the wine from this specific winery that is heavily Merlot is. And I thought, wow, I would like to be able to taste that, not because I want to drink a $2,000 bottle of wine, but because I want to know, does it taste better? Like, could it
I have
possibly taste that better? I just can't even imagine.
no idea. Okay, what was your like craziest moment in the movie? And then we got to wrap.
Craziest movie? Okay, so I don't know if it qualifies as crazy. I hate cheaters. So every time Jack and Stephanie were like sneaking, oh, I would like, it would raise the hair on the back of my neck. Not to mention, I hate to say this, hopefully Stephanie's character never watches this, but she's so asexual to me that I just could not get in to the like sexy romance that they were trying to create between those two. So it was just like, it was kind of like, stop it already! Stop
It
it!
wasn't happening.
Stop it! Like, let's move past that. Okay, they had a fling. Let's get on to the wine.
Oh my God,
How about
right?
you?
So mine, I can't erase this image from my head and it's just killing me. But it's like when Miles goes in to retrieve Jack's wallet into the house with the other woman he cheated with, and the naked man with a little hat, like airplane hat or something on his head, comes running out. And he's like literally flagging the window with his, yes.
Yes. His male parts.
His male part, and I can't erase that from my mind. No matter how many times I say Merlot, 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 it is always going to be in the forefront of my mind. So, on
Oh
that
my
note,
Lord.
do
I
you want
love
to
it.
wrap it up?
I would love to wrap it up. I love talking about Merlot. It's a delicious grape that hopefully will continue to grow its resurgence, its renaissance, now that it's been 11 years and 11 days, I think, 11 years, 11 days, or 12 days, something like that, since the movie came out. So thank you, everyone, for joining us on our chat about Merlot. Make sure that you open a bottle on November 7th every year, because that is International Merlot Day. Feel free to jump into the social media streams. Use our hashtag #PoundWomenOnWine. Share what's in your glass. When you find your favorite Merlot, please share it with us. Follow us on the social platforms at Women on Wine TV. And with that, we say, may the Merlot in your glass be delicious, not snobbish, and perfectly paired with your week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Merlot, 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 Merlot.